Hey, hey everyone. It's David and Rick. Rick,
Hey.
Rick White is visiting us today, and Rick has, well, you started an energetic healing system.
Yeah.
Is it a business or is it?
Yeah, you could call it a business.
Yeah.
It's more a way of being, really.
Okay.
It's kind of putting together all the tools and teachings that I've been gathering over the 25 or 30 years of being this odd and interesting creature that I am. And putting together like Reiki and Qigong and shamanic practice and native medicine practices and sort of a tool collector, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about the different tools and some that we've, of spiritual awakening, and some that that have in common, and I'm sure some that we don't. So when you talk about native, have you spent some time with our local indigenous people?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's some great tribes around here. Actually, there's a lot of we're very close to the res, so there's a lot of sweats, dances, sun dances, powwows and things out there. There's great family, the Eagle Tails out there. There's a couple others. A good friend of mine with one of the communities here in Calgary of Hollowbone Healing Lodge, Wade. He studies, and he's a pipe carrier and a sweat facilitator. So I do a lot of work with him. I'm also a portion native myself, and through teachings all over the place. Yeah.
Where are you from?
Teachers. I was born in Alberta, Red Deer, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've been around here for, a few days.
I get to sweat sometimes with Casey, Eagle Speaker.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know Casey?
No, I've heard of them.
Yeah. And I spent a number of years going every Sunday out to Morley, up in the mountain, and, carrying the wood, finding the rocks, getting the sweat ready. And lots of times I'd be the only white guy there, you know. And so I enjoyed that teaching.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
And it's kind of part of my journey. Like you, I think I've been exploring. I call myself really a spiritual student, and I'm still a spiritual student. But something shifted in the last not so long, really, where some of the lessons have there's not so much searching anymore. There's more of a practice and more of an awareness that's come into me, and now it seems like my job is to give that message back. To carry that message of awakening, to carry that message of presence to people. And we were just talking, Rick and I were just talking about how sometimes the teachings can keep us from the awakening.
Yeah, definitely, right?
Yes.
Well, a lot of these teachings are thousands and thousands of years old. You can't tell me that you're going to use the same horse-drawn, square-wheeled cart that they used 5,000 years ago.
No.
So to use the same exact prayers, the same words, the same traditions, the same teachings, that worked in a different time, in a different space, quite likely in a different reality, in a different dimension, right? So to think that all of that is going to work in this time, in this presence, in this moment, it's sort of fooling yourself. Everything shifts, everything changes 1 trillion times per second, Buddha says. In Sanskrit, they call it anicca. It's that constant change, impermanence. And to think that you can't move forward with a new way of being, or a new thought, or a new intention, a new teaching, a new practice. You're just holding yourself back, I guess.
I hadn't thought of it quite that way, but yes, my feeling is that any teaching that has a lot of do's and don'ts is really, in some ways, created to kind of keep us safe,
Yeah.
and contained or safe, you know, and because, well, then, you know, who's going to look after the business?
Exactly, right.
We got to look after the nuts and bolts of things, and if we're all spiritual students, you know, living in the cave, you know. So I understand why many of the teachings were designed to kind of keep us at a certain level.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And
trainable.
So there has been a shift because there's so much information available today, you know, online and in the world for if you know, if you really want to, if you feel drawn to awaken, to, you know, to really be present,
Become.
Yes, then you know, all the great teachers that we've had in the last 100 years are available on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really interesting and amazing time in that aspect,
Isn't it?
And much like yourself, those hard and fast, dogmatic ways of being with the do's and the don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I'm all right with the do's.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you tell me don't, you can't, you shouldn't, I'm already questioning you. And I think it's good that people question that.
Yes.
Like, there's far more beyond what is in one scope of one person's reality.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own little piece of reality. And we put it together like this big collage or puzzle that creates everything that's around us.
Mm-hmm.
But we still contain our own little reality. And when you come up against somebody else and they don't share that little piece of reality that's your piece, then a lot of times you just push somebody aside, you push a practice aside, you leave it behind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of saying there should be no can'ts in this world.
There should be no can'ts. There's a should in that.
Yeah.
There can be no can'ts.
There can be, but
No
there
can'ts.
isn't,
Yes.
right? Right from the get-go, right from youth, parents are telling you, be careful, don't do this, you can't do that. And then you get to school, and the teachers are telling you in their best way they can with the program they're allowed to share, which is very controlled, that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do... What if we told everybody that you can? What if you just maybe were a little more guided by the heart and have the belief that you can do anything that your little peanut of a mind can draw up or imagine, because it's being done constantly.
Because we can.
Yeah, we can. Those people from, 50, 100 years ago, they say, oh, you can't do this. But, do you think they were saying, oh, you can't run around with the phone back then? Probably. Everybody's got one. They were probably saying, you can't get an electric vehicle. Well, they're out there. There's all these cans that are being constantly broken. And they're just more and more cans all the time.
It wasn't that long ago when man could never fly.
Right. Physically.
I mean, I'm talking about airplanes.
Yes.
And now we've, been to space, and so many things have happened. And it's happening so fast right now with technology, and yet I see the change that's happening in our spiritual world is pretty freaking amazing. So you call it Rick's Raw?
No, it's a nickname that I've just changed it to on Facebook. Raw Energetics.
Raw Energetics.
Yeah, there's a Facebook page, Raw Energetics Calgary.
Yes. What do you do with that?
Mostly I just bring people together. Share a lot of events and gatherings. Allow people that are sharing all these tools, these medicines, these practices, the teachers, the hosts, to be on that page. There's, a few thousand people that watch fairly consistently and just help everybody to find their medicine, their path, their journey, their tools.
So have you traveled a little to discover tools?
Yeah, definitely.
Where have you traveled?
Most of my travels have been in North America. I have done some travels to South America as well, though, of course. Run into some very interesting teachings and practices and tools down there as well. Yeah.
Were you in the jungle or were you in the mountains? Have you been to the Andes or to the Andes?
I have been. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Cusco.
Last time I was down, I was in Pisac and stayed just outside of Pisac. Beautiful little space.
There's the Sacred Valley.
That's in the Sacred Valley. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard great things. I haven't been.
Oh.
I've been to Cusco and I've done some trekking and some amazing spiritual work high in the Andes, which was like beyond no phones, no electricity, in a little village. It was like we went through a pass that it was at 16 or 17,000 feet, and then into this village. It was way up there, and it was the air was so clear, really, right out of National Geographic.
Yeah, it's a different world, eh?
Yeah. And there are different people. Do you know what I noticed? I've been in the Himalayas, and been around with the Tibetan people, and the Tibetan people and the people in the high Andes are so similar.
They are, eh? I have teachers over there as well, and
so similar.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. And also the people in the high Alps, when you think of the colors and the bells, and they're very similar. The mountain people, and they live forever.
Yeah.
They're like in their 90s and they're lugging stuff up, straight up mountains, and that's an interesting.
Yeah, the being in that way of life too.
Could be all the maca.
Yeah, and many other things, right?
Yes.
So many medicinal plants, herbs, and practices these people have that they've carried for thousands and thousands of years, right? That are, it's the old school things that work to help people to find these certain ways of being, these certain experiences, practices.
Do you read much?
A bit, yeah.
I've just read a book by David Asprey. He's the bulletproof guy, the bulletproof coffee guy.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he's doing so many practices around keeping the mind functioning at like 30, because as we get older, if we're not taking care of the mind, like the medicine we talked about earlier for the Pinot, we don't take care of it. And he has all kinds of little hacks for helping the mind to stay alive, and to not dry out, to not, because our little mitochondria that are, creating the energy, have a tendency as we get older to, we just create less. Yeah. And his goal is to live to 180. He's amazing, and he talks about, in his book, he talks about going to Peru, and he talks about, doing ayahuasca long before it was, as popular as it is right now.
Yeah,
like 20 years ago,
now,
when he was going there, and all of the things that he was looking for to expand, not just the consciousness, but to actually expand the physical mind. And our frontal lobe is where the human part of our mind is, as opposed to, the reptilian or the fight or flight, type of mind that we have.
Yeah.
So I think the mind is pretty interesting, and my feeling is that we perceive so little of what's really going on here.
Very much so.
And that there's the possibility to, through meditation, as one of the vehicles, to really see more of what's happening here. Just like in the spectrum of light, we only see a small amount.
Exactly.
And there's so much that's beyond our physical vision. There's many ways to perceive what's happening here besides our eyes and our ears.
Yeah.
And as we know, and So there's just so much more happening here, and we're kind of locked into a smaller version of, and maybe it's that's designed because maybe the system generally at running at low revs is only able to handle what we see. And if we can ramp it up a bit.
Yeah, raise that vibration and open the being, open the mind up to these things.
Then we'll through meditation and also through the journey work, when we connect with the oneness, when we recognize that there is actually no separation between me and the air and me and you, and I mean that can happen in meditation as well.
If there is a me and a you.
If there is a me and a you. And if there's even a you. And so yes, I mean those are the big questions, aren't they? This all could be totally an illusion.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people that kind of lead toward that, people tell a lot of stories and we share a lot of things. Once in a while, one of those stories might just ring a little bit true. Maybe to you or the other person or to you or to myself. And when you bring that truth into your reality, it becomes a part of your reality, which you feed back into the whole, back into that puzzle we were talking about earlier, that collage.
The collective.
The collective.
Yes. So we've created all this out of the collective, and it's moving fast.
I've always been a watcher, very observant, ever since I was really little.
You seem like a doer to me.
Watching and observing everything and everybody and learning from that as quickly as I could. And through that, of course, watching myself as well, going through all these experiences and all these things. It's interesting when you come to that point through something like meditation that you can stand back as the observer and just watch the experience. You still get the experience, you still get the emotions. You don't get the whole attachment, the aversion, you don't get the whole perception, the belief systems.
So no judgment.
Maybe. Exactly, no judgment. Rather than judging and doing, just being. Yeah.
So where do you think it's all going?
I don't know. It depends on the day. I think that through watching all that I have been for this lifetime and catching glimpses of others and things like that, I'm starting to see patterns. When I was young, I thought that, there's a lot of people that were asleep and stuck in the TV, go home, drink their six-pack, go to work, go home, go to work, nothing more. They didn't see anything, they didn't question anything, they didn't want to expand. But now there's more and more people out there that are watching videos like this, having these talks, these conversations, following the paths of whatever tradition, whatever medicine, whatever meditation, to come to their own states of awareness or awakeness, right? I used to say that there was a very small percentage on this planet of people that were awake and conscious. I kind of thought it was like 98% of people were asleep when I was young. And now I'm leaning more toward maybe 90% of the people are asleep, because you come across every 10th person, every 9th person in a crowd is somebody that's having these conversations, having these thoughts, asking these questions. So in that way, I think it's definitely expanding, and through that lifting the consciousness and the vibration of every being, every person, every cell, every rock, every tree, right? We're all working together on this.
Well, Hawkins, I'm a big fan of Hawkins, and Hawkins was an enlightened man. There's no question he was awake. And Hawkins says that one person vibrating at, say, 600 in his scale, which is peace, can lift the vibration of hundreds of thousands. Lifts the whole planet, really. And so I think that for me, helping people create meditation spaces so that, we all, as we meditate, we do lift their vibration. It's funny. People say, "Well, I can't meditate. I'm too busy doing." And I say, "Well, take some time to just be, and your doing becomes even more productive."
Yeah, it does, actually. Yeah.
You know, results go way up if that's what you're, if you're focused on results. Meditation helps results.
Yeah, definitely.
But it helps the whole planet, you know. And I think, as opposed to learning, you know, new techniques or learning, you know, I've spent all these years as a spiritual student trying to find the answer outside, and I recognize that the answer isn't outside.
You never found it?
No. But I had a teacher for years. His name was Paul Lowe, and Paul used to say, we can't find it by looking for it, but we won't find it if we don't look for it.
What kind of crock is that?
And so for me, I recognize that it's been a kind of a combination of things. An old teacher by the name of William James wrote a book called A Variety of Religious Experiences, and basically he calls he talks about enlightenment through a educational variety. So there is some lifting of consciousness that does come from studying the books and studying the teachers and listening to the words. When I think of this book in particular that I've been reading to my people online, and I think of this book, it has a high vibration. It actually, according to Hawkins, vibrates in like the 900s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's and so just being in the presence of or reading this book lifts the vibration of us.
Have you ever muscle tested it yourself to see where it sits?
No.
Oh.
No, I haven't. But we could maybe after we finish this. Yeah, we could.
Sure.
We could do the kinesiology.
Yeah.
And yes, that would be fun. I need to practice at that.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty good tool. There's, you know, a lot of people, we always have these questions, these thoughts, these perceptions or beliefs that come up, and we often don't take that 3 or 4 moments, breaths, seconds to process, to be present with that and aware with that, and to move beyond that to see what's outside of that little container, you know.
So, do you meditate?
Oh yeah, I'm actually a meditation guide. I've been studying for a long time, studying with some Himalayan teachers. I've been studying with Vipassana techniques and other monks and meditators along the way.
Nice.
I host usually 1 to 3 a week, depending on the time.
No way.
City,
Yeah. Like, well, you could come and host one here.
Yeah, I totally could. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That. So, do you, like, I'm kind of, I have this idea that too much guiding in the meditation actually keeps us in the mind.
Yeah, it can, definitely.
And if the possibility is to get past the mind, we need to at least let go of it and observe it.
Yeah.
You know, so I've watched lots of meditation. You know, of course, you can't have a meditation teaching on YouTube without somebody talking. You know, the quiet one isn't going to sell.
Yeah. There's no teachings in that.
There's no teachings in that. It's just a screen, you know.
Yeah. Why is that guy sitting there with his eyes closed? What's he doing?
Well, we're thinking actually doing that. We'll like at 10 o'clock every morning, we'll have a live meditation, and so it'd be like 3 or 4 minutes of talking to help people just get in, you know, to drop in, and then we just sit.
Yeah.
And
fun.
And then if they come in late, they just have to jump in.
Yeah, or find a recording.
Find a recording, I know.
Right.
So, because I think that if we get caught up in too much in the breath, of course, the neat thing about the breath though is it does bring us into the moment. If we're with the breath, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
The breath is happening right now, and but if we're focusing on a candle, then we're just keeping the mind busy.
Yeah, very much so. It's like the mudras, mantras, the chants. All these things are just more distractions.
Yeah, and so we keep the mind busy, not to get past it, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of I don't know for sure. I mean, maybe, you know, all these years of having 108 beads on your meditation thingy. On your mala.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it does keep the mind busy as you count them off, and you know, and we're doing koans, you know, asking questions. Tell me who you are.
Yeah.
And
Who am I?
who am I?
Who are you?
Who are you? Yeah. So, you know, maybe that stuff does actually help to get past the mind.
I think a lot of that is training for the mind. And perhaps it's a stepping stone. If you can train the mind to have that alertness, that pinpoint accuracy, that attentiveness, and train it to be in a moment, perhaps you can train it to be in a different moment. And just allow it to take a break, put it in neutral. A lot of times through these things, you know.
Earl, what time is it?
A lot of times through these practices, people will.
I'm asking though, is it what time is it in relation to 4 o'clock?
Oh, we got time. 3:24. I'll go back there and you guys.
Okay. All right. and thanks. I mean, you're right. We do have time. We're okay. We've got this. I'm going to tell them what's going on.
Yeah.
I've left some stuff on the back loading dock for a long time.
Yeah.
And finally the landlord came today and he said, "Look, if you're not going to clean up the loading dock, we're going to take it all away." And now all this stuff I've left on the back loading dock all this time it's come up in my value list. It's like, oh shit, no, you can't take all my stuff. And
I put that there for a reason.
No, I didn't. I just left the shit out there. But now I want it, right? It's like, no. And so there's some really cool rubber tire chairs in back there. You guys should have a few of them for the house. Do you ever?
Cool.
One day you're going to be in the backyard.
Yeah, we probably be holding some events and gatherings and stuff.
One
in
day-
the summer when the weather warms up too.
It won't be for the next week or so, but eventually.
Yeah, at least.
Enjoyed your house last night.
Yeah, thanks. It's
Nice.
a nice space, eh?
Nice place. I think I'm coming back tomorrow night.
Oh, for that tantric event.
The thingy, yeah.
Yeah, we hold quite a few events. We live in a community house, as
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
We had maybe 50 people through there yesterday for a potluck and a mini market and just sharing and singing songs and hanging out. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sitting by the fire. eh?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
good.
So what do you call the house?
We've actually just come up with a name for it.
Mhm.
We're calling it the Sanctuary.
Nice.
It's a safe space
Mhm.
to just be,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I like the name.
Yeah.
I had it. We were down on 17th Avenue. I don't know if you remember. I had a store on 17th Avenue for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
And upstairs, I called the upstairs of that store the Sanctuary on 17th.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Nice.
And we had yoga classes and ecstatic dance and all kinds of things that would happen up there. And people would rent the space to do events and there was lots of fun stuff that happened upstairs.
Yeah, nice.
So yes, I think everywhere the idea of a sanctuary, of a safe place to go where where you don't have to work too hard.
Yeah, or where you can just be yourself
That's what I mean.
without
Yeah.
judgment, without anybody peering down their
Yeah.
nose at you, and just allow you to be and do whatever. And
I felt that last night there.
even further, encourage people
Yeah.
to be within themselves and to explore and be creative, to share.
Mhm.
It's so good.
Yeah. How many living there?
There's only 4 of us that live there.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a small house, right?
It's not that small.
No,
No.
it's huge.
It's a big house, and
Yeah.
there's you and Kat and Bonnie
Yeah.
and Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you. So what else would you like to share with us? Anything that's coming up, events, or are you doing any meditations anywhere that?
I am actually. I'm doing Wednesday morning meditations at the Edgemont Community Center.
No
right now.
way.
Yeah. The people there invited me to come in. They're trying to build a little bit of a meditation in that community.
Mm-hmm.
So they've basically just given free access to the community center, which is a beautiful space.
Mm-hmm.
We're meeting there at around 8:15 every Wednesday morning until 9 p.m. or
Wow.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are people coming?
Yeah, there's been a few. It's new. It's
Yeah.
only been running for about a month now,
Mhm.
but we're starting to get more and more people coming. Right? Much like everything, it takes a little bit to get the word out.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
takes a little bit to get you guys there.
Mhm.
Come on down. It's free. It's by donation.
Is
If
it?
you feel like chipping in.
Edgemont
chip in.
Community Center, Wednesday morning
Yeah.
for meditation.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff that we put out, actually. There's everything from tantric events, ecstatic dances.
At the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shamanic journeys, meditation, paint parties.
Yes.
All sorts of stuff.
Nice.
Oh, we're doing a drum building workshop there right away, too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like with skins?
Yeah.
Nice.
Like frame drum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Friends of mine from Northern Tribe, Lesser Slave area.
Mm-hmm.
They're drum keepers.
The Dene?
Pardon?
The Dene?
Yeah, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, they're drum keepers, and they come down once in a while, and I host them, and
Nice.
get a bunch of people together and build
Sure.
some beautiful new frame
The
drums.
Dene people are very lovely.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All
Yeah.
people have the potential to be, don't they?
Of course, yes.
Have you been lovely yet today? Just curious.
Just curious. Be lovely. Be lovely now.
Yeah, that'll help.
Speaking about events, I got a couple coming up. Amy Thiessen, do you know Amy?
Yeah, Verdor.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Amy's an amazing singer and storyteller, and she's doing a thing here. She's going to sing. We're gonna have I think we'll have a big group of people
Yeah?
for the 28th of February, and
yeah.
Amy's coming for that. Every Monday night here at 6:30 we do meditation. Maybe
Yeah.
you could come and lead that one night. It's a real mixed bag of people that come. We don't actually charge for it; it's by donation.
Yeah.
And Mondays at 6:30. What else do we have? We're not even. This is really new. I've never actually spoken about this here yet, but it's. I think it's going to happen.
Breaking news.
Breaking-
We need that theme song.
Doodle-doo. No, it's not doodle-doo. It's
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
When I go to Bali, and I'm in Bali quite often, Sunday morning we do ecstatic dance. And it's like our church in Bali. It's ecstatic dance, and it's amazing, and it's so much fun, and so I've been thinking about doing ecstatic dance here, and then a friend of mine contacted me last week, and he said, well, why don't we do start at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. We do like a little check-in, so we have people come and give them a place to talk about what's happening in their lives. So like a 5-minute check-in, because we're just there to listen about what's happening, in people's lives, not their announcements, but what's really going on in their life, what's happening, and what are their struggles, and not to support people in a victim story, but to help them maybe lift out of it, and then maybe a little bit of time on some consciousness stuff, maybe some stuff from Hawkins, some to help people self-actualize, and then dance. So
that'd be fun.
9 to 10, we'll do the stuff I was just talking about, and then say 10 to 11 or 10 to 11:30, we dance.
Nice.
And no yoga.
No?
Not that I don't love yoga, but I mean everything in this town is, there's a yoga component to all of it, so maybe a little stretching.
Definitely a movement in the yoga
No pun intended.
industry.
No pun intended. Movement, yoga, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what we're, and we hopefully, I can see that starting early March.
Yeah. Nice.
Sunday morning dance.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And yeah, I think we can get people out of bed to come dance.
I think so.
Have some tea.
Yeah.
And maybe toast, but no Tim Hortons donuts.
No?
No.
No box of Tim
No,
for breakfast
no
before
Tim Bits.
dancing?
No.
It's probably not a good idea. anyways.
No, I know. Of course it's not. I can't imagine.
Dancing going.
People bring it's just like poison. Anyway, I shouldn't. Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah, we love you.
Coffee's great.
Yeah. Not so sure about that either. But
I don't drink it myself at all.
No.
I never have.
No,
No.
not a
I
big
can't-
Tim
I can't
fan.
stand it.
Yeah.
I don't even like this.
Anyway, we do love you though, and and Timmy's. Thank you so much. There's a lot of stuff out there. Yeah. Did you get that big plank? It's leaning against the wall.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that plank. I don't know why nobody ever stole that plank. It's a big 2-inch by 10-inch piece of really nice wood.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm a bit of a wood guy. Do you see all
Me
my
too.
wood?
I do a lot of woodwork, actually.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah.
Did you see my wood?
No.
We're going to go look at it in a minute. I've got tons of...
That's not some sort of proposition.
Ah, you're cute, but no.
That's good, thanks. At least I'm cute, right?
I'm not even going to touch that.
Me neither. I think that's where the whole topic is going.
I talk about my tables and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
I want to show you all my
yeah. There's a lot of really cool projects and
live
knickknacks and
yeah,
things out
lots
here.
of stuff back there. I'm glad you came in and shared with us. And you know, when you're having stuff at the house, we'll post it. Of course, we'll post it because Kat will make sure we post it. But
Yeah.
but you know, we'll put it up and help support that community. It's great. People, I think, we all want to belong somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, connection is important, and that you guys have a community house where people can come to and belong. You know, to feel part of is a big deal. That's that. There's I think there's value in that, and so I'm.
It's definitely a power in bringing people together.
Yeah.
And specifically for things like a meditation.
Yeah.
You bring the intention of one being into a space and they can focus their intention. They might manifest something. You bring 100 beings into a space with a similar intention, something's probably going to happen.
Something's cooking.
Yeah.
And it may be outside of our perception.
Oh, yeah, that's just right.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
Yeah.
Actually, going back to that, I often share that, you know, the human eye can see like this much of the pie
Yeah.
of the spectrum of light.
Mm-hmm.
And we can hear this much of the spectrum of sound. A dog whistle, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if these are the guidelines of things that we actually see, feel, hear, and know on this experience of being a human being, then we're not really getting much of it at all.
No, and that's only from the senses that we're talking about. What about
Yeah.
this from a spiritual sense?
Yeah.
You know, what's available here, and we know from our experiences that there's so much right within our sphere, we just can't perceive it
Yeah.
under normal circumstances.
Yeah, sometimes you get into those spaces, you perceive a little more than you were prepared for.
No kidding.
Sometimes you melt away and you go, wow, I don't know what just happened, but that was cool.
Yeah. That's
I
right.
love you, I love me too.
Yeah. Love and gratitude.
Yeah, right.
Love and gratitude.
Yeah. Those are beautiful meditations.
Yes. Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I don't know if we said anything that touched you in any way, but I think Rick's doing some amazing stuff.
Thanks, you
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
Yeah, keep him busy.
And if you have any questions for him, just as you're going through this, just note them. I think that I've kind of covered what we got coming up. Love it if you follow us on YouTube, subscribe, and we're all of this is on YouTube as well. And pop by the store, check us out online, baliandbeyond.ca.
Yeah.
And love you guys, and Rick loves you too.
Of course.
Of course.
Everybody.
Yeah. So thanks so much for watching today, and thanks James for looking after us again. And that's it. Cheers, you guys. Bye bye.
Have a good day.